Welcome to Creativity Calling, where we bring you informal interviews with exceptionally creative people. Creativity Calling is a service of Songwriting with Soldiers. With today's Creativity Call, here's Songwriting with Soldiers co-founder, Mary Judd. Welcome back to part 3 with our interview with Michael O'Brien.
I started showing them to the designer DJ Stout, who is a famous designer in Austin and was my art director at Texas Monthly. And he says, man, we have to publish something for our firm. And he said, I'd love to take a collection of these pictures and publish them and design a booklet and to use it as a fundraiser for Mobile Ocean Fishes. I don't know. I think we raised $20,000 or $25,000.
Wow.
With the booklet and auction and everything. The songwriter and singer Tom Waits, and I'd been showing him the pictures, and he had liked them and connected to them. And so I said, look, I can't believe it, but they're going to end up being in a book. Would you write a poem as a preface? And Tom said, yeah. And he said, sure, yeah. One of the poems. So he missed a couple of deadlines, and then one day Julie, the girl that works in his office, called up, and she said, "Look in your email." I looked in the email, and I was expecting finally to get that one poem that would be the beginning, the preface of the book. As I looked there, and there were 18 poems.
Wow!
I said, "Oh my God! let me talk." At the time, I said, what in the hell happened? And I said, I thought it was going to be one poem. He said, is it Michael? He said, I got one, and then I got another poem. I put them in a room, and they had babies.
Oh, wow.
So that was out of a negative comes a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't have that period, I never would have, gone to Allen and worked for Mobile Ocean Fishes and this inadvertently, this unintentional, this book, Hard Ground, came from that sort of rut in the road. We're back to the road, and there's a cow in front of us, and there's a rut on one side.
Yeah, hard ground, sometimes. Yep. Well, I'm happy that you're such an aware driver along that road. You're paying attention. Oh, wow, this is fun. So we've covered those. We've covered a lot of those areas that I wanted to talk to you about. I know that a couple of our, if we have anyone who is on the call right now who has a question, you can either speak up or you can send me a quick email, and I will ask your question. Is there anything, Michael, as we wait for that, is there anything that you were hoping that I would ask you about, or you wish that someone had at some point that you wouldn't mind expressing or elaborating on?
No, it's been, I look back at this point, and I'm trying to go through all of the work I've done. It's been, I started in '68, so that's 50 years of being a photographer and telling stories with the camera.
Yeah, congratulations.
And it's been, I couldn't believe I couldn't have had such an amazing life, and I've been able to make a living from doing something I was passionate about. And the thing is, I never, from the beginning of picking up a camera to still doing it when I work for Songwriting with Soldiers, I love it. It's never been work. It's never been drudgery. I always get excited. I always get pumped, and I always, I've never said, "Oh, I'm just going to just give it a hit and a lick and get done with it." I might as well just be. I've always been like, if you're going to do it, do it the very best you can. I delight, but it's like if I think like this little kid from Memphis who couldn't play guitar, has got to go, live in New York and meet some of his idols who were the photographers at Life magazine, and got to do stories for Life, like on the remarkable nurse in the burn ward. Another story on deinstitutionalizing the mentally ill. Another story on Muller High School in Cincinnati, the best high school football team in the country, and being sent off to Australia by National Geographic, and with just a blank slate of we just want a cross section of portraits of Australians, and you have 60 days to do it, and you can go any place you want to, and all the film in the world, and take an assistant, and I think, God, it's just amazing to working for Texas Monthly and meeting Willie Nelson and photographing Sissy Spacek. These people I watched on the screen that were heroes and heroines of mine.
Yeah. Were you ever nervous?
I always think I'm going to fail. Oh my God! I always think like, I worry myself sick before, like, you're going to photograph ZZ Top, and and it would be raining the night before. I'll be in a little hotel room in Humboldt, Texas, and I'll be, what are they going to be like? And one's going to have an attitude, and is the barbershop going to kick us out in a couple of hours? And that's where we're doing the picture. I was like, you're Brian, you're a disaster. You're going to fail. It's going to be horrible. The lights aren't going to work, and those fluorescents are going to make the picture green, and you should have done this, you should have done that. And, I'm a wreck. Yeah. And then the moment that I get the camera in my hand and I start to go to work, all that disappears.
Yeah.
And I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
Working. But until that point, it's like, I'm terrified.
Yeah, that is, I feel for you. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, but it's so good to hear you say it. It's because it helps other people realize that's all, even somebody as professional as Michael O'Brien still gets nervous and did and always does, and it's part of it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I never, it's just a chunk, like someone slugged me in the gut, and I'm just nervous as crap, and it never changed.
Well, you're one of the most pleasant nervous wrecks around. If we ever see you in that state, you hide it well.
You can't, you can't go in and say, Mr. ZZ Top, I'm falling to pieces. This is going to be a disaster. But stick with me.
Well, I've got a couple of questions here, so that's a good segue to one of them. One from, actually two from Matt Lenkus, and I will ask you the first one. Who has been your favorite subject over the years to photograph, and why?
Well, I think, we talked about that. I guess it would be, of famous people, it would definitely be Willie.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's because of who Willie is, and how beloved he is, and what a good person he is, and I think that's all evidenced in his face. He has just. I mean, how do you describe a face like that? So Willie would be that. Yeah.
So his second question. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to say some great things about Matt. Wait,
before you do. His second part of his question is, who is your favorite photo assistant and why?
Matt and David Zippel. So there's two parts, and I think Matt's a great photographer, and I love seeing what Matt has become.
Mm-hmm.
But
for those of you who don't know, Matt Lankus is another fantastic photographer who also has helped us at Songwriting with Soldiers retreats. And he studied under you, Michael. Is that right?
But no, I mean, I wouldn't. We've worked together, and although he would be the assistant on the photo shoot, I've always thought when I worked with Matt, it was more of a team.
Mm-hmm.
And it would. I mean, Matt and I can talk in shorthand about, okay, where are we going to photograph the subject, and what's the lighting going to be like, and Matt will make a suggestion, and I, and we'll discuss it, and he's just an incredible, and he's great with people, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's a wonderful photographer. He's a good human being, and we were a good team because of some of the things that I lack. Like, I have no sense of direction, so it was hard for me to get to the place to photograph the subjects.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt has the best sense of direction of any human being I've ever met. You can shake him up in a burlap bag and spin him around, and he knows north, south, east, and west. So we were a good week. All the skills I lacked, Matt had.
Well, I'm sure he's very happy to hear those answers, and like many of us, happy to work with you. I have a comment here from Kevin Reeder, who you may remember from retreats. Kevin is one of our longtime.
Oh, I know Kevin well. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kevin wrote, and he said, not really a question, but a real appreciation for Michael's work and his earlier statement that his photographic ability is really his way he connects with the world. What a great statement about all our strengths.
Yeah. That's so true.
It is. Thank you, Kevin, for that. And I have one here from Rob Spohr. He has a question for you. How do you feel the advent of digital photography has impacted creativity in photography? As you said earlier, watching the film develop was a big part of the craft.
Yeah. So, it all ends up being a picture in the different roads, or you can do it digitally, or you can do it traditionally with the film and the traditional method. What's happened, I mean, just with digital, is I think it's helped us democratize photography and made it more available to everyone, because the little cameras and the phones, people, as you've seen from the retreats, can take some amazing pictures with their camera phones.
Mm-hmm.
And before, when it was just film and a camera, that was a barrier, a technical barrier for people, that people had problems because of the expertise required. So it's democratized it, and I think that's good. And I've always admired photojournalists, and we talked about some of the combat photographers that worked for Songwriting with Soldiers in the early days, and I think it is so important to have good photographers and photojournalists in the world to photograph and report about what's going on. And really, if you think about it, the digital camera in a phone has showed us some incredible things in the world that were happening that we wouldn't have seen in the era of film. So I think it's enlightened us.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's a great question, Rob. Thank you. And thank you, Michael, for that. It made me think about, anybody who's on this call knows a lot of the work that I've done with positive psychology and the different tools there, and one that's really effective in a lot of areas is thinking about the absence of something. And I just had one of those feelings of, oh my God, just what if we had not had photography at our retreats? What if we were all there in person, which is wonderful. The experience was great, but what if we had no record of it, no documentation of it? I think everybody who listens to this can just imagine what would be lost. And, the fact, like you said, the democratization of it is great, but there is such it really reinforces thinking of it that way. If we didn't have you, Matt, several of the other photographers we've had, the videographers, the recording, Keith and Carl, the documenting of it, the preserving of it, at your level of expertise is still very important when you have people who have the finesse and they have the experience and they know how to capture it in a way that isn't intrusive and often can tell more of the story than we would have been able to see or feel with just hearing it or seeing it ourselves.
Yeah, that's very well said, Mary.
Thank you. I wish I would have written it down. No, but thank you. And I think
you have a recording of it.
I do, and I'll get someone to transcribe it. But I'm reiterating some of what Kevin said too. So just a deep appreciation for you, Michael, and like we say to our songwriters too, and all of us on the call, just the putting the time in and the passion and the continued striving for excellence. It has great rewards for all of us, really good outcomes. So very appreciative for your 50 years of work and that we're getting you on our team and getting to have this conversation tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's been every one of the retreats has been special, and I've always left the retreats, tired but inspired.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And I always think, there's a picture I didn't take, or what did I miss, and do I have enough of the scene or enough of this person? But what happens in the retreats is kind of if the picture coming out of the developer was magical, something, how the retreat develops when everybody comes in and they're kind of anxious on that first night, and you and Darden work your magic and get the car, if you will, going down the road, and man, by Saturday morning or noon, it's cruising, and then at the end, it's across the finish line, and it's amazing to see how transformative it is for everybody, the participants, the songwriters, the people that cook the food, the people that come and just see the performance, and for me, the person that documents the photograph.
Ideally, we at the retreat have many more drivers afterwards, driving this work forward and the stories forward, and lots of little cars made on the road. And this call tonight, on that note, I'll wrap it up, give you a final goodbye. But thank you, Michael. I am not at all tired, but I'm very inspired after this call. So thank you.
You've been listening to Creativity Calling, a service of Songwriting with Soldiers. Executive Director Kristen Starling, co-founders Mary Judd and Darden Smith. Our mission statement: we transform lives by using collaborative songwriting to expand creativity, connections, and strengths. Learn more at songwritingwithsoldiers.org.